had known. Welcome to the space. Stories whispered, lessons shown. On this channel, if I had known.
Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a truly fascinating case study lined up for you today, diving right into the heart of the global creator economy. You know, we live in this wild world where just one video, uploaded from a smartphone, can literally reach millions of people across the globe in seconds. Crazy, right? But here's the catch. Having internet access doesn't automatically mean you have a voice the whole world can understand. So today, we're zooming in on two very specific people: an incredible Rwandan creator named Kagarara, and the international figure Ashton Hall. By looking at how these two connected, we're going to uncover what it actually takes to cross that global divide and build a brand that translates anywhere. And that brings us to this massive, honestly kind of puzzling central mystery. Why is it that you can have two creators, right? Both are incredibly talented, both are just overflowing with amazing ideas, yet one remains basically invisible on the global stage, while the other breaks through to massive international recognition? Like, what is that invisible hurdle? Well, spoiler alert, the answer isn't a lack of internet access, and it's definitely not a lack of creativity. It actually comes down to something way more fundamental to human connection. Okay, let's dive into this with part one, facing the language barrier. To really get this, we need to look closely at the super interesting dynamic between Kagarara and Ashton. So, Kagarara brought some immense strengths to the table. I mean, he was incredibly successful at building a real, genuine friendship with Ashton. He could effortlessly bridge that cultural gap with, brilliant physical comedy or just this completely genuine smile. Those are universal things, right? They literally don't need a translation app. But there were definitely friction points. Whenever their interviews started getting longer or the topics got a bit more complex, Kagarara really struggled to express everything he wanted to say in English. The brilliant ideas were all right there in his head, for sure, but the bridge to actually convey them to a global audience, it had a few missing planks. Now, it is absolutely crucial that we don't frame this as someone just having, quote-unquote, poor English. That is completely the wrong way to look at it. Instead, we need to reframe this as a super common hurdle in cross-cultural communication. The language barrier we're talking about here, it's the specific challenge of expressing deep emotions, crafting nuanced stories, and, this is key, discussing business in a second language. Just think for a second about how hard it is to negotiate a contract or, express a really complex, vulnerable feeling in your native tongue. Hard enough, right? Now imagine doing it in your second or third language while the whole world is watching. That is the true nature of the barrier. So how on earth do we cross that barrier? That brings us to section 2, the two-way communication street. Because here's the thing, communication is never, ever just a one-person job. Ashton didn't just sit back and expect Kagarara to perfectly adapt to his English. Nope, Ashton actively adjusted his own style. Let's break down what he did. First, he deliberately spoke much more slowly. Second, he swapped out complicated vocabulary for short, direct sentences. Third, he relied heavily on gestures to supplement his words. Fourth, he repeated important ideas to make sure things were clear. And fifth, he gave Kagarara ample time to respond, which completely removed the pressure of a rapid-fire conversation. This wasn't just accidental. It was a highly strategic, deeply empathetic way to bridge the gap. And this brilliantly illustrates a universal truth about connection. Good communicators adapt to their audience, instead of just expecting native-level fluency from everyone they meet. Ashton Hall proved that effective communication absolutely goes both ways. It's a shared responsibility. And when that burden of understanding is shared, the language barrier actually begins to lower. That's when the actual personality and raw talent of the creator can really shine through. But what happens when you step out of that friendly one-on-one dynamic and into the wider, cutthroat creator economy? Well, let's look at section 3, the business glass ceiling. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it maps out where the language gap actually hurts the most. On one side, you have raw creator talents, and so many African creators have these in absolute abundance, right? Excellent ideas, boundless creativity, relentless consistency. But to turn all of that into a sustainable global brand, you inevitably slam into the business requirements. You have to navigate complex negotiations with sponsors, set up international collabs, and do these in-depth media interviews. The talent side, yeah, that gets you noticed. But the business side requires absolute confidence in a global language. If you can't confidently negotiate, you are literally leaving money and opportunities on the table. But hey, before we get too discouraged by that glass ceiling, let's pivot to the very optimistic reality that Kagara actually proved. I mean, he became internationally known way before he became completely fluent. Language is an incredible advantage, for sure, but it's not the only requirement for success. You absolutely do not need to wait until your English is perfect to start building your audience. So what actually drives that initial success? It's things like authenticity, creativity, consistency, emotion, storytelling. These are the visceral, non-verbal aspects of content creation. Think about it. A genuine smile, an act of physical comedy, a heartfelt tear. These things bypass the language barrier entirely. They speak directly to the human experience. Kagara used these exact drivers to build his initial audience, which proves that raw, authentic emotion is always going to be the strongest hook to grab people's attention, literally no matter where they are in the world. Let's move to our next point, because grabbing attention and keeping it, those are two very different things. Section 4, sustaining your fame. This brings us to this massive aha moment for the whole case study. Ready? Your talent can make you famous, but your communication skills can make your fame sustainable. Wow. It is just such a brilliant way to frame the creator journey. Your raw talent, your humor, your ideas, your aesthetic, that acts as the magnet. It attracts the eyeballs, the likes, the initial opportunities. But fame? Fame is fleeting. What actually helps you keep those opportunities, turn them into long-term partnerships, and build a lasting career, that relies entirely on your ability to communicate your value to the broader world. Now, this brings up a supernatural fear for a lot of creators. They think, if I cater to a global audience, am I going to lose what makes me unique? But listen, it is not an either-or situation. Think of it like a giant tree. You absolutely must preserve your authenticity by keeping your roots deep in your native language, like Rwanda, in your own rich culture. That is your unique signature, it's your DNA. But at the same time, you can grow your branches and unlock massive opportunity by learning a global language like English. Learning a new language isn't about abandoning your culture, it's just another tool in your toolkit. It's a bridge that lets you invite the rest of the world into your house. Because ultimately, this is what the whole shebang comes down to: autonomy. As creators improve their global communication skills, they gain the actual power to negotiate partnerships and collaborate internationally on their own terms. I mean, you don't want to be in a position where you have to rely on a translator or some manager to express your vision to a sponsor, right? You want to tell your own story without relying on anyone else to interpret it for you. That is what true creative and financial independence really looks like in the digital age. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Whether you're a creator in Rwanda, an artist in South America, or an entrepreneur literally anywhere in the world, how will you balance preserving your local authenticity with unlocking your global opportunity? Your talent definitely has the power to open the door, but it's your ability to connect and communicate that will actually invite the world inside. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer. Keep creating, keep communicating, and keep pushing those boundaries. See ya!